What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Tim Talks, the real estate show where we talk about real estate, life, and a little bit of everything else. For the first time in a few weeks, Ethan, let us roll the intro music. Welcome back to another episode of Tim Talks. This week is going to be what we call the Farewell Sean, We Hate You episode. We hate you.
We hate you, Sean.
I'm just kidding. I know he doesn't listen to this show anyway, but I'll send him that clip. We lost Johnny Boy. Got hired at Nike. Some of you remember Sean from the marketing team. We had him on here for, what was it, 2 episodes we had him on here for? Maybe 1. But he made a tremendous impression in the 1 episode that he was on here. And then Nike saw that and said, he's ours. So we lost him. He was a good guy, but I kind of hate him because he didn't actually say goodbye yesterday. He just left the office and he's gone. So anyway, but he did buy a house while he was with us here at Coldwell Banker. So, a win is a win. You win some and you lose some. But welcome back to another episode. We've been off for a couple weeks. But we are back. We're going to try to be more consistent about this. That's something we're going to talk about today is consistency. And are you being consistent? Are you staying true to those things that you said that you would stay true to? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We'll have Peanut Butter Boy Ethan on today so that he can share some of his wisdom with us. Always a hit when Peanut Butter Boy gets on the show. Let's start off things with a little market update. It is April 6th. We have just started Q2, and the market is interesting as it has been for the last couple of years. This is going to be a case study that we look back on. They're going to go back to, it's going to be like 2075, and they're going to say, oh, you remember the 20s when it was, the rate changed every month, and it was just, affordable then not affordable, then affordable then not affordable. That's kind of what we're dealing with right now. We have the rates are currently, as I speak, and now by the time this comes out, this will probably be completely different. But as I speak, the rates have actually gone down to a 7-week low. I thought it was 7-month. I may have texted a client saying 7-month lows, and then I had to correct myself. Looked like a fool. But rates are at their rates are at a low right now. Maybe the Federal Reserve is thinking they've got some inflation under control for the moment, and we just it's interesting because every time that happens, every time the rates go back down, it's almost like we're shooting ourselves in the foot because the market comes back 2 times stronger. So lately, just literally within the last few days, we have seen things just shoot right back up again. Buyers just come out of the woodwork. Sellers are getting multiple offers. I mean, I had a client that saw this property that had been on the market for 2 days and it had 10 offers on it. And he offered $55,000 over the asking price. And we didn't even get an email back. So if you're a seller, let's go. If you're a buyer, things just got a little bit more affordable with the rates. Let's see if we can find you something that doesn't get 10 offers. And if we can do that, then we should be in good shape. And we will. We will find those. Do not despair. Do not fear. Realtor Tim's got you covered. There's a little bit of a snapshot on kind of where the market is moving right now because we should keep a few things about real estate on this show, even though every time we want to talk about more interesting things. But yeah, we are entering April. April's kind of that month where the winter lull, that winter inventory that was higher because people don't want to buy houses when it's freezing and cold and snowing like it has been lately. That time period starts to come to an end. April showers bring May flowers, and that's kind of what we see with the real estate market. Things start to die down just a little bit in the winter, and then they go right back up starting in April, May, June, July, and carrying off into the end of those summer months. So you're going to start seeing some things start flying around, some inventory really increase here as sellers put their homes on the market and realize that they might have a chance to get that home to fly off the market a lot quicker than it did, between November and March. So if you're thinking about that, if you're wondering if maybe now is a good time, I would definitely consult one of your professionals. You guys all have my phone number, so I will be offended if you do not give me a call. That's just how this business works. I will hate you and probably make a voodoo doll out of you. I'm not entirely certain yet. That probably goes against the ethics board. I don't know. I do get asked a lot, kind of, where's the market going? Where do you see things going? Bigger picture. I think these rates are here to stay for a while. We are not going to see the crash take place that so many of our lovely Instagram reel users want us to see and tell us we're going to see. There's just the infrastructure that's in place, plus the amount of buyers that we have. It's just going to prevent that from happening. So I think what we're really seeing right now is people adjusting to what I'm calling the new normal. The new normal is that homes are expensive. If you ask people, 5 years ago, they would have said homes are really expensive. If you ask people now, people are going to tell you homes are really expensive. And if you ask people in 10 years down the road, people are going to say homes are really expensive. A home is one of the single most expensive things that you can buy in your lifetime. It's always going to be expensive, and it's always going to match the inflation that we are seeing everywhere else. I mean, I remember when a banana 3 years ago was 20 cents. Now a banana is like 75 cents. So you're just always going to see, well, it was a bigger banana I bought at the store the other day. So maybe those numbers are skewed a little bit. But enough about bananas. You get my example. You're just going to see things are always going to rise. One of my friends that I sold a home to him told me real estate is up and to the right. And never has a truer thing been said. So I think people are just going to adjust to this new normal. That the new normal is that your 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1,500 square foot house is anywhere between $450 and $500. And 10 years from now, that same home is probably going to be worth $700,000. I had a friend also do calculations on the $420,000 home that he bought 2 years ago. And in 30 years, his projection was that with the rise of inflation, every single year, not the inflation we saw the last 2 years, but as inflation progresses, and has progressed over just the history of our country and the way that real estate has risen over the course of 100 years or so, that $420,000 home is going to look somewhere close to $7 million in 30 years. Some people might tell me that is absolutely insane. But when 30 years ago, that $420,000 home was $50,000, kind of makes sense. So that's just kind of what we're doing these days. We're adjusting to the new normal. And people have a lot of questions, and that rightly so. So just bring your questions to the table. Don't make any real estate moves without asking those questions, and you should be totally fine. Because there is a seasoned professional on the other end of the line that is waiting to help you and kind of understands and knows what's going on. So that would be my advice, is if you have those questions, don't try to figure it out yourself. Go ahead and ask somebody and try to have them figure it out for you. No sense in trying to figure all that out yourself. So I hope we didn't lose any listeners. Hopefully no one fell asleep through the market update. I know this is a real estate show, but we do like to talk about a lot more than that. Like we say, it's the real estate show where we talk about real estate, life, and a little bit of everything else. And that is where we are going to segue into the little bit of everything else. Can we get Peanut Butter Boy to come down to the mic? Woo! Peanut Butter Boy! Today, we were talking about it is Q2. We are officially in Q2. Q2 began April 1st. Well, really like April 3rd, because that was Monday. Yeah. Or April 2nd. I can't remember. April 3rd. Too long. April 3rd. It's been so long. And we all made goals at the beginning of the year. I don't usually like to break things into quarters. I think it's kind of stupid. I think it's a longer goal than that. You don't really need to break things into quadrants. For business purposes, you usually do to kind of keep track. It's easier to keep track of things that way. But we all kind of made lofty goals at the beginning of the year, as everyone kind of does. So let's talk about that. Where are we at? Are we staying consistent with those goals? You don't have to go goal by goal and tell me if you stayed consistent.
All 5 of them.
Yeah, right. But how do you feel How do you feel your goals are at right now? Where they're at right now?
Pretty good. I heard a statistic not too long ago that was like at month 3, March,
Yeah.
or quarter 1, April, end of March, you dropped most of your goals have completely vanished. Like you haven't followed up on any of your goals, or you've stuck with 1 or 2 and you're just kind of moving along with those. So if we go by that statistic, I forget what percentage, it's a pretty high percentage of people that fall into those categories. But feeling pretty good. I got my books are being read. I have my run at the end of April.
There it is.
There's a few things that have gotten a little lackadaisical as life gets busy, as life does, but
Yeah.
doing pretty good, pretty solid this time around. Just keeping in mind that there's no, I'm spacing on the word. Don't give yourself an out. Make yourself do it.
Yeah, no excuses.
Non-negotiable, no excuses.
No excuses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no reason not to do it. If you're tired, you're going to be tired. Like, you're already tired. Just go do it and then go to sleep. Like, if you're tired, you're tired.
Yeah.
Like, and that you just have to deal with being tired and do what you got to do.
I was listening to a different podcast, and the title of the episode was "We Are Our Own Best Salesmen."
That's
we
true.
sell stuff to ourselves like you wouldn't believe it. And you might be sitting there and thinking, I don't do that. I don't sell things to myself. That's crazy. But every day you have decisions to make. And sometimes the choice is something you want to do. Sometimes that choice is something you don't want to do. And every time it's something that you don't want to do, making that excuse, you're basically selling something to yourself.
Right.
And a lot of people hate salesmen, right? They give salesmen a hard time.
It's rough.
But you are your own worst salesman. You are there telling yourself lies, and you're buying it. You're buying it every time.
100%.
So that's something that I keep in mind is when I have something I don't want to do, like you were saying, maybe you're tired.
Right.
Oh, well, that sleep is awesome. I love sleep, but I'm going to get this thing done first.
Right.
I'm not going to sell myself on this idea because I know that what I'm trying to sell myself is not actually what I need.
I feel like I've said this on the podcast before, maybe not, but it's something that I think about a lot is that you always have time to do the things that you want to do. And people are like, no, you don't. It's like, yes, you do. So like we make room for things in our lives that we truly want to do. Even though we might say like, oh, I never have time to go travel or I never have time to go do this. You're forcing yourself not to have time to go do
priority.
things. Yeah, you're not prioritizing it. If you would prioritize things you actually want to do, you could always do the things that you want.
That is so true.
And you're like, this is going to put me out. Like I won't be able to make a living. I'm like, well, then that's what you want to do. Just go freaking do it.
Yeah. Well, that's 100% true. You have 24 hours in the day. Subtract 8 if you're lucky.
Right.
Subtract 8, realistically 6. All right. Steve Harvey once said, go find any successful person that sleeps 8 hours a night.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that's not what a lot of people out there want to hear, right?
Right.
There's a lot of people out there that say that's not healthy. You need to be sleeping your 8 hours a night or else you're not, replenishing blah, blah, blah. Science, words.
Word.
You're right. Yeah. But find somebody that's successful that, sleeps a third of their day, right?
Right.
Is that a third? Yep, 8 times 3 is 24. Find a successful person that sleeps a third of their day. You probably won't find them. And so let's say 6. So 24 minus 6, you've got 18 hours left. 18 waking hours. That is a lot of time. And the average person puts in an 8-hour day.
Right.
So if you want to be successful, you minus 8 hours a day, which you have to do to survive, right?
Right.
That leaves you with 10 waking hours to do whatever you want to do. You're telling me that in 10 hours, you can't do the things that you want to do.
Right. Yeah. And if what they're wanting to really do right now is watch season 4 of Love is Blind.
Yes.
Which I get totally
Which is
get.
awesome.
It's
not a
great
problem.
Season. Great season.
Yeah. Well, I've heard from my fiance mixed opinions on things.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they make him drink way too much personally.
Okay, that's fair.
In my own opinion. But
Did you
it
watch
makes for good TV?
Did you watch The Perfect Match on Netflix?
No, I need to.
You want to talk about drinking too much? They're sitting down these interviews and they're like, Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi,
It's terrible. Like this, I feel bad watching this now. Like people making terrible life decisions.
Yeah. It's awful. It's awful.
Anyway, but yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right. People want to be medicated.
Right.
They want to be medicated by the things that, because it's easy to sit there, be a robot, and just lose yourself in the medication that a Netflix show, or a movie, or something, or a video game, like realistically, unless you're using that for social purposes, right? It's easy to get medicated by those things.
It is.
And then you look up and you're like, and you say to yourself, I don't have time for these things, or it's just like I'm just really, really busy lately. It's like I have had to not cut out. It's been smaller doses that I've taken, smaller doses of what I love most, which is watching sports.
Right.
But it's because I'm sitting there realizing I could waste this time just staring at, grown men bouncing a ball, or I could chase after what I said I wanted to chase after.
Right.
Again, there's going to be people that listen to this and say, that's not healthy. And you have to have your boundaries. You have to draw your lines and set intentional time to do things like watch sports and watch Love is Blind.
Exactly.
To medicate yourself, as I call it. But make sure the goals come first.
Right.
The goals come first. The Netflix is a reward, right?
Exactly.
It's not the goal. I think so many people get through their days so that they can get to their TV, so that they can get to watch their show. That's not the way it works. The way it works is you go out and you get you go after your goal, you fight and you scratch and you claw to get what you needed to get done. And then at the end of the day, you're like, I've done it all. Yep. Checked all my boxes. Life is good.
Right.
Okay. You know what? I have an extra half an hour before I go to sleep. It's a little reward. It's a little pick me up.
Staying, there's just so many different, between habits, building good habits, staying disciplined. And we need to treat ourselves like we're little kids who just need to make sure you sit down and do your homework after school for an hour, make sure you're eating your veggies, go out and play a little bit, and then you get an hour of television or whatever. Make yourself your own little kid and be like, I need to stick to my disciplined lifestyle because I know that's what's best for me. It might not be what my little kid brain wants stimulus all the time wants, but we don't need stimulus all the time.
Right.
We'll short wire ourselves and
crazy. I love that. The little kid brain. It's so true, though, because once we leave the house and become adults, we kind of just do whatever we want to do.
Exactly, because we're allowed to be just kids who have ability to spend money and go wherever we want. We don't have anyone saying, nope, you have to do this.
Yeah. I used to always tell my dad when I was a kid, I would tell him, I cannot wait until I leave this prison that you have me in, this dungeon, this hellhole that you have me in, I can do whatever I want to do. And he told me, it's probably the most untrue thing my father has ever told me. He said, Tim, when you're an adult, you don't do whatever you want to do.
Right.
Because you're older and more mature and da-da-da-da-da. And to a certain extent, that's true.
Right.
But you do whatever you want to do. You have the freedom to do whatever you want to do. I think it was one time, it was probably 9 or 10. I remember this vividly. I told him I could not wait until I could just go to the store and buy tubs of ice cream and eat them whenever I wanted to eat them.
Right.
And he told me that adults don't do that.
Right. You'd never do that.
Well, I'm here to tell you that when I was in college a year and a half ago, I regularly had 4 tubs of ice cream in the freezer at all times.
There you go.
And I was eating a tub every 2 to 3 days.
That's wild.
Yeah.
You're an animal.
Gotta have the little kid brain.
You do.
Because, good Lord, if I had tried to do that when I was a child, wouldn't have gotten away with it.
Right?
You wouldn't have been even close.
No way. So, little kid brain, realize that you are still a little child in your head and you need to discipline yourself.
And the discipline is so important. That's really good. All right. Yeah. So goals for me, good start. I'm one of those people that even if I do hit my goals, I will always kind of have a little chip on my shoulder and,
Right.
and be like, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough.
was
that
not close.
that is to a certain extent unhealthy, and you have to be able to pat yourself on the back every now and then and say, oh, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right.
Right.
I think there's other things that are a little bit more unhealthy that go along with that. One of the main things I want to talk about today is comparison.
Ooh.
Yeah, that is a big one. Comparison is a big one. There many people have said it before. I do not know where it originated from, but the saying is comparison is the thief of all joy.
Yeah.
It is so true.
It is.
When you are sitting there, you are a unique and completely different person from everybody in the room.
Right.
That you will never find somebody who is you. It's just not possible. We have not developed technology for clones yet, sadly.
Unfortunately.
We probably have. It's probably somewhere in a lab somewhere.
Top
Maybe
secret.
Elon probably has figured it out. But as far as we know, you're the only one of your kind.
Right.
And so if you're trying to compare yourself to somebody else, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up to always see the areas that you are falling short in, and that completely robs you of all joy.
Right.
When you think you've done something cool, and then you turn around and look at somebody next to you, and you see that they did something, the same thing that you did that was cool, but they did a little extra, and you compare yourself. I mean, we've all done it. All our joy goes out the window immediately.
Right.
And we just feel like a sad ball of just frustration.
Right. Just
That's
nothingness.
Yeah. That's something that I've definitely struggled with. It's really easy in this industry to look around. Probably similar to you. You can see this.
100%.
So much of your stuff is on social media. You see what other photographers and videographers are doing.
Right.
You see the weddings that they book. You're seeing the shoots that they're going on.
Yeah.
You're seeing the commercials that some of them get gigs doing commercials. It's so easy to look at that and be like, you know,
why? What am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
Why are they so much better than me?
And that's the thing is they're not. They're on their completely different path. They're on their
Yep.
completely different journey. And there's things that you do that they could never do. There's things that they do that you probably can't do.
Right.
And that's because we're all completely different.
Exactly.
Likewise, in real estate, I do the exact same thing. I look around at other agents, and it's like you're battling this, constant desire to be like, well, are they doing this? That's making them so much better than me, and should I be like doing that? There's nothing wrong with looking around and seeing what other people are doing, and if it's working, then like doing that as well, right?
Right.
Like I mean, no need
That's
to
how-
reinvent the wheel every
Right.
day, but if you're doing it to the point where you are determining your value based off of what somebody else is doing,
Right.
then you've lost touch with who you are.
It's tough. I mean, the thing that actually gets me the most, not depressed, but feeling poorly about myself is I can't watch the Olympics. I don't allow myself to watch the Olympics,
Interesting.
which is so weird because I'm not going to ever be an Olympian. I was never on that path. But seeing people at like the peak of what they like, human performance, whatever, as to what they can do, and seeing people like fight for that position or just even get to that point is like, I'm nowhere near the peak of anything. Like I have peaked no summit in my life thus far. Like I'm not on the path to doing that or anything. So that's like that watching the Olympics is the only thing that like gets me super down, but there's no reason for it because that's not what I do. So
Yeah.
it's just interesting what can make our minds go a little crazy.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Why do you think we do that?
I don't know. I think
Because the Olympics is such a great example.
right.
Because to a certain extent, I've kind of felt something similar, like watching them. You almost have like an empty feeling when you walk away
Yeah.
because you're like, I'll never be that.
Yeah. It's like dang, no, like they have tons of whatnot, and like because they have a big stage, but it's not probably as big as like Super Bowl stages where there's all these people all in like watching one event. Like the events probably don't have that many people watching all at once, like on TV and whatever. But I don't know, like just seeing someone perfect something, I guess, is just it's tough
Yeah.
for someone who hasn't perfected something to watch. I don't know.
I think a little bit of it, and this might be getting too deep, but a little bit of it might be saying, okay, this person, because they're able to do this, has a very high value,
Right.
right? And because I'm not able to do that or I'm not doing that, that means that my value is lower.
Right.
I'm down here. So we are actually pushing ourselves down and making ourselves we're internally making ourselves weaker and thinking of ourselves as lesser because of something somebody else is doing, that they're just achieving something that they've put a lot of work into. And the funny thing is,
Right.
those people at the top are probably doing the exact same thing that we're doing in other areas.
I heard another statistic. I don't know if it's true or not, but the Olympians are like one of the highest percentages of people who are like depressed, like severely depressed, is because once you've made it to that level, and even if you win gold, the second you win gold after that, you just hit this like, what's my purpose now? Like, what am I good for? Like, I've done this. I've like spent so many hours doing this one thing, and I did it, and I got gold, and now what? Like, I'm worthless. And so they struggle with that too. So like, we all have this just little thing about us that is kind of self-deprecating, and it sucks. But
and that's why it's so important to be doing what you're doing for the right reasons.
Right.
Because when you're doing it for the right reasons, it doesn't matter what other people are doing.
Exactly.
Right? If I'm doing something, because in my heart I want to help as many people as I can, and I truly derive joy and pleasure from seeing somebody succeed and somebody meet their goals, then it doesn't matter what John Smith is doing. If John Smith sells 100 more houses than I do in a year, like that's great and good for him. I will feel my fulfillment and my joy because John Smith and I are on two completely different paths.
Right.
Maybe he's selling homes for the same reason as me, but I'm not reliant on what he's doing because I have my own fulfillment of joy in the work that I did because I was doing it for the right reason.
Right. And I think I've found in my personal journey through life is that the people who are most satisfied with where they are and who they are and that kind of life, like that, just who they are as a person and what they're doing, are the people who to the general populace seem like they're doing such a small thing or like not a very big person at all, but they're like, I have such purpose in my life. I'm like affecting the people that I love, and like I just love who I am. And it's usually the people who the outward crowd thinks like, oh, they're not really anything, but they're the most hyped about themselves.
Fulfilled. They feel
There's
fulfilled. Hyped about themselves, baby.
Super hyped inside.
No, it's a great way of putting it. I think that's you hit the nail on the head. You do not have to be LeBron James to feel fulfillment. Becoming the president of the United States is not going to all of a sudden lead you to feel this immense amount of fulfillment.
Right.
Unless being the president of the United States is what your purpose in life is. And that is you're there because like that, you feel that is your calling in life to do that. Right. And that is what will make you feel fulfilled. And so that's kind of what it all comes back to. And honestly, that was one of my goals this year was to, I've always had, this one purpose, the one reason I'm doing real estate. But I wanted to dive further into that. I wanted to explore ways that I could feel further fulfilled through real estate.
Right.
And I think in ways I've found more ways to do that. Still, I've just barely scratched the surface.
Right.
Experiencing new things every day with different buyers and sellers in different situations, and just learning to not be short-sighted about things, and to not get too high and too low about certain things, because when you do, you kind of lose sight of the purpose, which at the end of the day is to do what is best for the person on the other end of the line. So really, really interesting things to kind of consider and think about. But overall, don't compare yourself.
It's brutal.
Stop comparing yourself.
Go down a bad path.
And that's not to say let yourself go. You still have to work just as hard. But you're not doing yourself really any favors by negatively comparing yourself to others. I saw something on, I just throwing a little thought here. I saw something on TikTok, actually. I was looking at that quote and trying to kind of figure out where it came from. And this one person said that they do not agree with the statement that comparison is the thief of all joy, because in fact, according to them, comparing themselves to others makes them feel good about themselves, because they like to look at people that are in a worse position than themselves, and it makes them grateful. And I just thought, you asshole.
Right.
That is like, look,
Pretty brutal.
I'm glad that you can derive joy from seeing other people that are, in your words, like beneath you. You're missing the point, man. You're missing the point. And because I actually put a video on TikTok about it, talking about how comparison is, just, it's the worst. It's the devil, like you're robbing yourself of joy. And I consider not putting that on there because I saw people saying that they do like comparing themselves.
Right.
But then I thought to myself, that's a load of bullshit,
Yep.
That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
don't look down on other people
No.
and derive joy from seeing that.
Yeah, if you see someone who's like not where you're at in life and are happy about where they are and that they're struggling, then there's something just wrong with who you are.
You're probably really, really unhappy.
And yeah, you're in for a humbling at some point.
Yeah.
That's just how life works.
Yeah, it's very, very true. It's word for word. Again, not everyone here is a believer, but it's word for word, or scene for scene, from the Bible. The Pharisee, the publican, and the Pharisee, and the publican's going, no, the Pharisees. Yeah, the Pharisees. Sorry, got him reversed. The Pharisees going in the temple. God, I thank you that I am not like this publican here, who is basically a shitty person. I thank you that I am holy and that, you've given me a good life and that blah, blah, blah. He's basically pumping himself up.
Right.
And acting like he's praying. And on the other side, you've got the publican, and he's just going like, God, like, have some mercy on me. Like, I am such a sinner. Like, I am the worst. Like, just have some mercy on me.
Right.
And, I mean, there's nothing that you need to say after that. You know who's on the right side of the story here.
Yeah. It's we should be proud of ourselves in moments, but in all times think like I am nowhere near as good as anyone else around me. We're all just people and we're trying to get through life, and some of us might have more assets than other people do, but that does not mean that you're any better than someone else.
Yeah. But it's good to have those kind of two sides to comparison, like comparison as in like, oh, I'm not as good as this person, and comparison of like, oh yeah, I'm way better than you. Like they're both pretty bad.
Pretty bad.
So stay away from comparison. But yeah, to wrap things up, stay on those goals. Keep working towards those goals. Don't let them slip. Do not sell yourself. That sounds weird. Do not sell ideas to yourself. Because when you're trying to sell something to yourself, that's probably because deep down inside you know that that's the opposite of what you should be doing. And stay consistent. It was really interesting. I've gone to the gym over the last year or so. I quit running cross country in May, quit running cross country and track in May, and I was 140 pounds, and then I just kind of decided I wanted to become like the Incredible Hulk and see how big I could get, and I sprouted to 180 pretty quickly, and then I've just kind of maintained it, and I haven't done anything special. That's the funny thing is some people ask me like, hey, I'm trying to kind of do the same thing. How did you what's your routine? What's your routine? Like what's your secret sauce here? Like steroids? I did actually I got asked that the other day. Someone was like, are you on roids?
Are you netty?
I was like, no, I wish.
That would help.
But the secret sauce for anyone who wants to know is just consistency.
Right.
I show up to the gym 6 days a week. I do fairly similar workouts every single time. Always make sure to be consistent in hitting every piece of my body so that I'm working out everything equally. And the same can be said for everything in your life that you want to accomplish. There's no crazy secret workout plan that I was on. I just showed up every day.
Right.
And in life, that's all it takes to be successful.
Yep.
Is just that consistency. And granted, if you're banging your head against the wall and you're never, it's a brick wall, like you need to look at your surroundings and go, okay, that's probably not the best way to do things, right? Maybe I should take a hammer and hammer away against the wall, right? So there's methods, there's ways to do things. But that consistency is the most important piece.
Right.
A lot of people say they want to do something and then they're consistent for a moment and then they drop it and then they come back to it and then they do this and they do that. Honestly, this podcast is kind of, a show of that, right? We were doing really well because we were really consistent with it. Every week we were pumping out an episode and people loved it. And then, it's on me. It's not you. It's me. I kind of fell off a little bit and was, focusing on other things. And now it's like, nope, we need to come back to it and be consistent about it. So, yeah, sorry for that whole monologue, but I'll let you get a word in edgewise.
I think in today's world, everyone's looking for a quick fix that they can just do once or twice and then be done.
Yep.
Dieting pills, some kind of like green shake that they can just take once a morning,
cleanse.
some kind of juice cleanse, something that just like extracts
You'll cleanse yourself, all right?
every bit of water from their system and be like, I lost 10 pounds. It's like, it's really dehydrated.
Yep.
I think, currently we struggle with thinking that we can get around things with some kind of like biological hack or some kind of like crazy quick hack that we can do. If that's rarely ever is that going to be an option for you. And hard work, consistency, and time is the only way you're going to be able to do anything that's going to be long lasting. Before we hopped on, I read a quote: "Intensity brings quick results, whereas consistency brings long lasting results." So if you want to lose 10 pounds of water weight, do something crazy. Take some wild stuff and
fast for 7 days
have
or
some
something.
issues and like recoup that tenfold. Or do something that's hard that takes a while but is going to last a whole lot longer.
100%.
So that's my 2 cents.
No, I love it. And it's a very, very dangerous combination when you combine consistency and intensity sometimes, when it's the right kind of intensity, right? I've never been a juice cleanse believer, but if you were to say, you know what, I'm going to completely cut out processed wheat and processed sugar from my diet, and then you did that for 5 years,
right?
I would be willing to bet you'll have that 6-pack. I would be willing to bet it, like because those carbs and sugar is kind of what contributes to
the old
what we got going on here, right?
The old chum.
Yeah. So you bare minimum, you probably get them skinny boy abs at least,
right? Yeah, something will happen,
right? So that consistency and intensity as well, that's at certain points will ultimately lead to success. So if you're sitting here going, I'm not where I want to be, it is April 6th, and I have not accomplished the goals that I had set for myself. Well, it is not too late. You still have 8 more months of the year.
Yeah, 3 more quarters.
Well, realistically, you have 9 because April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December.
Yeah, big 9.
9 months.
Quite a few.
Yes. Get on it. Get going. Recommit.
Right.
And just keep plugging away every day.
You just had a rolling start. You didn't go from the start and launch. You rolled started.
Yeah.
Which might not be bad.
It's all right to do that. It is all right to do that. It's all right to turn up the intensity now. And it's okay to kind of do a little bit of a system reset.
Right.
I try to do a system reset every day, actually. I try to leave the office and be like, shake off the day. The day is done.
Right.
And it's like 9:45. I'm like, you know what? Unless it's super duper important, I'm just not gonna, I'm not gonna do extra. I'm not gonna give myself extra work right now.
Right.
If work comes and I have to take care of it, I have to take care of it. But I'm gonna kind of do a system reset. Whatever deals I made today, won today, or lost today, it's done. It's the past.
Right.
Tomorrow's a new day.
That's pretty
Be
good.
free.
That's pretty good. No, I like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to implement that.
Yeah. I mean, it helps to shake away the emotion of the day because, as we've talked about before, letting your emotions kind of rule you is how you make bad decisions.
Right.
So, Well, I think that's pretty solid. We just spitting wisdom on these folks this morning. So
Some young wisdom.
yeah. Thanks for joining. Thanks for offering
thanks
your.
for having me here.
Absolutely. It's just you and I, Ethan, to the bitter end.
Everyone's leaving.
Everyone has left.
to good things.
Yeah. I mean, Ashley pursuing her dreams. Sean got swooped up by Nike. I'm still not sure if he's telling the truth about that, but
I guess we'll see.
Guess we'll see.
I personally think he's a spy, but that's all right.
I would totally believe that. There's so much about him. And that's why I never said anything. I never gave him anything that he could actually
He's
use.
like, oh yeah, I grew up overseas, but then came.
Yeah, I knew a few people that grew up overseas and came to the United States of America. Their names start with Nadia, Boris, and Vladimir. All right,
something's up with that guy. I'm not speaking.
Sean. Okay, they've evolved. They're changing their names. Sean. All right.
Sean. He's gonna watch this and be like, what the frick?
Yeah. What are these guys talking about? I'm like part Korean, and my parents grew up in the U.S. We are on to you.
We'll track him. We'll track him down.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we leave our beloved listeners, word of the day.
I was thinking fruit.
Fruit.
Yep. Deep fruit. Oh, did you know that a watermelon is half like a fruit and a vegetable, considered both?
Wow.
Yeah. That
That just blew my
it
mind.
doesn't seem like a vegetable at
It's
all.
absolutely not a vegetable. And again, tomato being a fruit,
Yeah.
it's like
It's a
the
stretch.
tomato wanted to be quirky. He wanted
Yeah.
to be like
I'm a
edgy.
tomato.
I'm a fruit, guys. Like, it's not a fruit. Shut
Not
the
a
hell
fruit.
up. Get out of here.
I think it's some like southern state that has watermelon as their state vegetable. That's a flex.
I mean, cool. Yeah. You got our attention. All right. You did it. All right. Just go be normal like the rest of the fruits.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
like, come
Move
on. As humans, we know what a fruit is.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, that's sweet and tasty.
Yeah. We know what a fruit tastes like. We know what a vegetable tastes like.
Yeah.
I know I don't like vegetables. I know I like fruit. All right. It's pretty easy.
all I need
And
to
I can
know.
tell you the watermelon fits in with the fruits. All right.
Definitely a fruit.
Yeah.
All right. What's your word?
My word of the day, I don't know why, but uselessness popped into my head.
Uselessness. Let's go.
Do not be
The
uselessness.
feeling I get after watching the old Olympics. I'm actually not allowed to watch them anymore. I just can't.
Just can't do it. Just can't do it. No, I'm with you on that. Maybe this year I'll skip the Olympics and see how or this next year I'll skip the Olympics and see how I feel.
All right.
All right.
Simone Biles, instant, like, I'm a piece of trash.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. The gymnast, that's a tough one to watch just because they're like 14 years old.
Superhuman. Anyway.
Yeah, it's not my fault that my parents didn't throw me into a training camp
I
at
know,
2
right?
years old.
What's wrong with
Yeah, they must have just not wanted me to be successful.
I wish I had loving parents, but, we all can't win.
yeah, yeah.
I love you guys.
They won't watch this. It's okay.
I don't think they even know what I do for a living. They're like, he does something with video. I
Something
don't
with
know.
cameras. I don't know.
It's pretty great.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us so much for another episode of Tim Talks. Hopefully you took away something valuable from this. If you didn't, come back next week and hopefully round 2 will give you something better. Before we leave, number
63.
63, 57. Ooh, good number. All right. Thanks again. You guys know the drill. Please like, follow, subscribe, share us everywhere. Put up a poster, maybe a billboard downtown, if you don't mind.
Buy a shirt. Inquire about a shirt.
Inquire about buying a
And we
shirt
can get
because we
you
don't
one.
have them for sale, but I
Yeah.
could make one of them for sale if I wanted to. But thanks for all the love and support, guys. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Take care. And Ethan, let's get that outro music rolling.